We kick things off with our signature segment, Say What, where we roll out some of the most wacky, astonishing, and damnable things uttered by politicians and the chattering class. It's been 1 week since the government reopened after the partial shutdown, and with a deadline for a deal now just 2 weeks away to keep the government open, the only progress President Trump made this week in trying to squeeze money out of the Democrat-run House for his border wall was rescheduling the State of the Union address for this coming Tuesday, when he will surely use the national stage to try and push the envelope on border wall funding. But Speaker Nancy Pelosi said, good luck with that.
There's not going to be any wall money. However, if they have some suggestions about certain localities where technology, some infrastructure, as I said, about the ports of entry, we might need more ports of entry, we might need some roads. That's part of the negotiation. What did he say today? It doesn't matter what Congress does. I knew that he wanted it all to himself. I mean, oh, really? A president who wants to have Congress be completely irrelevant in how we meet the needs of the American people? No, come on.
We'll discuss the state of play on negotiations when we're joined in the next segment by Greg Corombos, news director at Radio America. Another week and another Democratic candidate for President of the United States. The entrance of New Jersey Senator Cory Booker makes it 9 Democrats so far trying to unseat President Trump, and we're still 21 months away from the 2020 election. Just like Senator Kamala Harris, who we'll discuss a bit later on, Booker introduced himself to the American people with high-profile, aggressive questioning during the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearings. And in his announcement for president, he played heavily on his inner city background as a community activist and mayor of Newark, New Jersey.
In America, we have a common pain, but what we're lacking is a sense of common purpose.
What's up? Amen.
I grew up knowing that the only way we can make change is when people come together. When I was a baby, my parents tried to move us into a neighborhood with great public schools, but realtors wouldn't sell us a home because of the color of our skin. Together, America, we will rise. I'm Cory Booker, and I'm running for President of the United States of America.
That is an abridged version of his presidential announcement video. Quite well done, actually. Booker will be banking on heavy support from African Americans, while Kamala Harris is also a person of color but is playing heavily towards women. Meanwhile, Democrats are starting to panic about Howard Schultz, the mega-rich founder of Starbucks, who's seriously considering running for president as an independent. They're certain that Schultz would draw votes away from the Democrat nominee and assure a second term for President Trump. Schultz was long thought to be progressive, but on MSNBC, the belly of the progressive beast, he said this week that he cannot abide where the Democratic Party is headed.
I'm not a Democrat. I don't affiliate myself with the Democratic Party, who's so far left, who basically wants the government to take over health care, which we cannot afford, the government to give free college to everybody, and the government to give everyone a job, which basically is $40 trillion on the balance sheet of $21.5 trillion. We can't afford it.
Schultz then got into a Twitter battle with Senator Elizabeth Warren, whose campaign for the presidency appears to be going nowhere, about her proposal to tax the assets, not the income, but the assets of billionaires.
When I see Elizabeth Warren come out with, a ridiculous plan of taxing wealthy people, a surtax of 2% because it makes a good headline or sends out a tweet, when she knows in a fact that's not something that's ever going to be passed. This is what's wrong.
Schultz, like Donald Trump, is independent enough and wealthy enough to chart his own course and fund his own campaign, and that's what has leftists in the political and media elites in open panic.
Don't help elect Trump, you egotistical billionaire. A lot of Democrats are freaking out.
Absolute gift to Donald Trump.
He could take away votes that would go to the Democratic nominee,
handing President Trump a second term.
Many Democrats fear that could be disastrous.
Your entry into this race will guarantee Trump another 4 years.
Running as a third-party candidate only helps Trump and maybe Putin. 2 words for you, just don't.
Doesn't get to be king just because he's so rich.
Schultz could wind up being the same thorn in the side of Democrats that Ross Perot was to Republicans and President George H.W. Bush back in 1992. Meanwhile, with Democrats long in disbelief that conservative Christians could be so supportive of President Trump, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders did an interview with the Christian Broadcasting Network, CBN, this week, and turned some heads when she said God wanted Trump to be president.
I think God calls all of us to fill different roles at different times, and I think that he wanted Donald Trump to become president, and that's why he's there. And I think he has done a tremendous job in supporting a lot of the things that people of faith really care about.
Well, that's it right there. Trump may not be a born-again Christian, but he does a whole lot of things that Christians support. But it should also be said that if you believe God chose Trump, then you have to believe he also chose Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. Then there was the latest hiring by CBS, which, like other elite media, seems to hire only anti-Trump Republicans. This time, it's the never-Trump ex-Senator Jeff Flake, who ran away from a re-election fight and then attacked Trump over and over, and was once thought to be considering a challenge to Trump in 2020.
I've always said that I do hope that there is a Republican who challenges the president in the primary. I still hope that somebody does, but that somebody won't be me. I will not be a candidate.
I'm sure Donald Trump is greatly relieved at that prospect. Will negotiations between Trump and Pelosi go anywhere? Will Trump invoke his power to declare a national emergency? And which of the many Democrats running for president is most likely to break away from the pack? We'll take a quick break, and then we're back to examine the state of play in the D.C. swamp and presidential politics with Radio America News Director Greg Corombos.